Many of you have come here tonight burdened by worries and doubts, weighed down by unfulfilled desires, unresolved problems, and seemingly insurmountable challenges. But I tell you this, worry itself is a misuse of your creative power. When you worry, you are engaging your imagination not for creation, but for fear. You are picturing exactly what you do not wish to experience. And as we know, imagination shapes reality. So tonight, I invite you to embark on a powerful experiment. Hand over your desires, your struggles, and your so-called impossible situations to God, to your own divine imagination. And then release your worry. This might seem counterintuitive, even reckless to some, but I assure you, it is the most effective and transformative action you can take. Let me explain why. Your consciousness, your sense of I am, is God. It is the one true creative force in the universe. Whenever you declare I am, you are directing this divine power into motion. If you say, I am worried, I am sick, or I am struggling, you are actively shaping those conditions into your life. But if you affirm, I am healthy, I am prosperous, I am loved, you are setting in motion the forces that will bring those states into reality. To give your desires to God means to surrender them to your imagination. It means vividly creating a mental scene that implies your wish has already been fulfilled. Your imagination does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly assumed with belief. Whatever you impress upon it with deep conviction will take form in your life. Instead of worrying endlessly about your problem, surrender it to God, your own divine imagination. If you have a health concern, rather than obsessing over it day and night, give it to God. In your imagination, create a scene where you embody perfect health. Feel the relief, the joy, and the gratitude of being completely well. Make this scene as vivid and real as if it were an actual event you have physically experienced. If you are struggling financially, instead of constantly stressing over bills and debts, give it to God. Picture a scene in your imagination where you are financially secure and abundant. Feel the ease, the freedom, and the generosity that come with having more than enough. Let that feeling become real within you. If you long for a loving relationship, stop focusing on loneliness. Surrender it to God. Imagine a moment where you are deeply loved and cherished. Feel the warmth, the connection, and the joy of a fulfilling partnership. Live in that emotional state in your imagination. The key is to make these imaginal acts so vivid, so real, that when you open your eyes, you almost expect to see them physically manifest before you. And here's the crucial part. Once you have done this, you must release all worry. Have complete faith that what you have imagined is already in motion, shaping itself into your reality. This is what it truly means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the limitless creative power of your own wonderful imagination, and then stepping back, releasing control, and allowing that power to work in ways your rational mind cannot yet comprehend. Now, some of you may be wondering, but Neville, how can simply imagining something make it real? Let me assure you, this is not just wishful thinking or empty positive affirmations. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. Your imagination is the workshop where your life is shaped and formed. Everything that exists in your world today was once merely an idea first imagined before it became a physical reality. The clothes you wear, the chair you sit on, the building you are in all were conceived in someone's imagination before they materialize. Your entire life, your relationships, your home, your state of health has been the result of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. So when I tell you to give it to God and stop worrying, I am inviting you to test this principle in your own life. Take whatever feels impossible right now and entrust it to the God within you, your imagination. Let's take a moment to truly absorb this. Close your eyes, if you will. Take a deep breath. Now, bring to mind something in your life that has been weighing on you, something that seems impossible to resolve or achieve. Do you have it? Good. Now, instead of fixating on the problem, let's do something different. I want you to create a scene in your mind that clearly implies your situation has already been resolved. What would you see, hear, and feel if this seemingly impossible circumstance had miraculously worked out in your favor? Who would you share the news with? How would you celebrate? Visualize this scene in as much detail as possible. Make it so vivid that you can almost taste the joy, touch the success, and smell the relief. Feel the deep gratitude that would arise from knowing your desire has already been fulfilled. Let every cell in your body resonate with the belief that this is now your reality. Now, open your eyes. Notice how different you feel. Lighter, freer, more hopeful, don't you? This is the power of surrendering to God, of entrusting your desires to the limitless potential of your imagination. In this moment, you have planted a seed in the fertile soil of your consciousness. And like any seed, if you do not disturb it with doubt and worry, it must grow into your physical reality. This is the essence of true faith. Faith is not about believing in something despite the lack of evidence. It is knowing with certainty that what is unseen will soon become seen. When you truly give something to God and let go of your worries, you are exercising this kind of faith. You are declaring to the universe, it is done. And then you go about your life from the assumption that what you have imagined is already in the process of becoming real. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do something to make our desires come true? To that, I say right action will flow naturally from your transformed state of consciousness. Once you have fully surrendered your desire to God, once you have felt it as real within your imagination, you will begin to think, feel, and act in alignment with that new reality. You won't have to struggle or force yourself to take action. The right opportunities, ideas, and impulses will come to you effortlessly, and you will be naturally compelled to follow them. This is why I emphasize the power of consciousness, because your actions will always reflect your dominant state of being. Instead of trying to force change through sheer willpower, shift your state of consciousness first, using your imagination as the tool to shape your reality. Let me share a friend's personal example. Years ago, he found himself in New York City with no money and no job prospects. The logical thing to do would have been to pound the pavement, knocking on doors and handing out resumes. But instead, he gave it to God. He imagined himself living in his own apartment and felt the comfort of the bed, the softness of the pillow beneath his head. He heard the distant sounds of the city through his window. He smelled fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. He made this scene so vivid that when he opened his eyes, he almost expected to find himself already there. And then he stopped worrying. He released all anxiety about his situation and lived from the assumption that he was already a man with a comfortable home in the city. Within a week, he received an unexpected phone call from an old acquaintance he hadn't spoken to in years. He offered him a job that not only paid well, but also included an apartment as part of the compensation. He will accomplish the impossible, but remember this, God is not separate from you. God is your own wonderful human imagination. Some of you may wonder, but what if what I want is truly impossible? What if it defies the laws of nature? To this, I ask, who are you to determine what is possible or impossible? History is filled with examples of people achieving what was once thought impossible. Flight was once deemed impossible. Space travel was beyond imagination. Instant global communication was a fantasy. Yet today, all these impossibilities are everyday realities. Your imagination is not limited by the so-called laws of nature. It operates in a dimension where all things are possible. When you fully surrender your desire to God, to your imagination, you tap into this limitless realm of possibility. So, do not restrict yourself by labeling things as possible or impossible. Your only job is to imagine the end result you desire and feel it as real. Trust the God within you, your imagination, to figure out the how. Now, let's address another common concern. Some of you might say, but I've tried this before, and it didn't work. If this resonates with you, consider this. Did you truly give it to God? Did you really let go of worry? Many believe they are applying this principle when, in reality, they are still clinging to old beliefs and fears. They spend a few minutes imagining their desire, but then spend the rest of the day worrying about their current circumstances. This is not giving it to God. This is like planting a seed and immediately digging it up to check if it's growing. You must have patience and unwavering faith. Persist in the assumption that what you have imagined is already a reality, even when your physical senses suggest otherwise. The physical world is merely a reflection of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. It takes time for the physical to catch up with the imaginal. But I promise you, if you truly give it to God and release your worries, the physical world must and will conform to your imaginal act. Here's another crucial principle. Your desire, once imagined as fulfilled, has no power to manifest unless you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not what you want that you attract. It is what you believe to be true. Simply visualizing is not enough. You must feel it as real. You must live from the assumption that you already have what you desire. This feeling, this assumption, is the key difference between idle daydreaming and active creation. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you align yourself with the reality in which your desire is already a fact. Just as a radio must be tuned to a specific frequency to pick up a station, your consciousness must be tuned to the frequency of your desired reality. Once aligned, you will begin to experience the elements of that reality in your physical world. Now, let's address another doubt you may have. You might think, but how can I feel something as real when all the evidence around me contradicts it? This, my friends, is the true test of faith. You must be willing to deny the evidence of your senses. You must boldly imagine and feel reality that defies your current circumstances. This requires courage and practice, but it is the very key to transforming your life. Your physical senses show you what has been created by your past imaginings and assumptions. But your imagination reveals what can be, what is waiting to be manifested through your renewed beliefs and feelings. So, when you surrender your desire to God to your imagination, you are choosing to place more faith in the unseen reality of your imagination than in the visible reality of the physical world. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains. This is the faith that turns the impossible into the possible. Let's take a moment to put this into practice. Think of something you deeply desire but have struggled to attain. It could be better health, financial abundance, a loving relationship, a successful career, anything. Bring it to mind now. Instead of focusing on the lack of this desire, create a scene that implies you already have it. Make it vivid and real. See it, hear it, feel it. Let every cell in your body resonate with the assumption that this is now your reality. As you do this, doubts and objections may arise. This is natural. Your rational mind, conditioned by past experiences, will try to pull you back into your old reality. But remember, you are more than your rational mind. You are a divine being, made in the image of God. When these doubts appear, gently but firmly set them aside and return to the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Bask in the joy, the relief, and the gratitude of having what you want. Let this feeling permeate your entire being. This, my friends, is what it means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the infallible creative power of your imagination. You are surrendering control to a higher power, to God within you. Now, here is the crucial part. Once you have done this, you must persist in this new assumption. Live from the state of the wish fulfilled. This doesn't mean denying your current circumstances. Rather, it means acknowledging them as mere reflections of past imaginings while placing your faith in your new imaginal act. Persistence is key. Most people give up too soon. They imagine their desire for a day or two, and when they don't see immediate results, they conclude that it doesn't work. But remember, creation is finished. Your imaginal act is instantly created in a dimension beyond space and time. It then begins to materialize in your three-dimensional reality. How long it takes depends on various factors, including how natural the state feels to you and your ability to persist in your new assumption. If you truly give it to God and stop worrying, if you persist in the assumption that your desire is now a fact it must externalize in your world. Perhaps you've been hurt before, disappointed by past experiences. You may wonder, how can I trust in this process? To this, I say, the very fact that you can imagine it means it is possible for you. You cannot desire something that is not already within you to fulfill. The desire itself is proof of your capacity to realize it. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, do you worry about how it will grow? Do you dig it up every day to check on its progress? Of course not. You trust in the invisible processes of nature to bring forth the plant in due time. The same principle applies to the seeds you plant in your imagination. When you give your desire to God, when you plant the seed of your imaginal act, you must trust in the unseen, unfailing processes of creation to bring it forth into your physical reality. This trust, this unwavering faith, is what allows miracles to unfold. It creates a clear channel through which your imagined reality flows into your experience. Worry, doubt, and anxiety only serve to cloud this channel and delay manifestation. So I urge you give it to God and stop worrying. Trust in the limitless creative power of your imagination and watch as the impossible becomes possible. This, my dear friends, is the power that resides within each and every one of you, the power to create your reality through the use of imagination. When you give your desires to God, to your imagination, and truly stop worrying, you open yourself up to infinite possibilities. You allow the creative power of the universe to work through you in ways your limited rational mind could never conceive. Tonight, I challenge you to put this principle to the test in your own life. Take whatever seems impossible right now, whatever has been causing you worry and anxiety, and give it to God. Create a scene in your imagination that implies your desire is already fulfilled. Feel it as real. Live from that assumption, and then let go. Stop worrying about how it will happen. Trust in the unfailing creative power of your imagination. Remember, the world is your imagination pushed out. Everything you see, everything you experience is a reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. By changing your imagination, by giving your desires to God and living from the assumption of the wish fulfilled you, initiate a new chain of causation that must lead to the realization of your desire. As you leave here tonight, I want you to carry this profound truth with you. You are the operant power in your world. Your imagination is God in action. When you give your desires to this God within and stop worrying, you align yourself with the creative power of the universe. You open yourself up to miracles. You make the impossible possible.
Apostle of Sounds.